the Terran up here in the top left of King's Cove. His name is Seither.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side in the purple, representing Epic, it's RiSky. And yeah, it looks like, here on King's Cove, going to be interesting. We've seen quite a lot of battle cruisers in recent Terran vs. Zerg. We've been seeing evolutions of both bio and mech play, especially battle mech on this map, so popular. What I've most enjoyed seeing recently is more and more evolution of Sky Terran mech. TY loves to just kind of open up with a very heavy harassment opening, and then he just goes into like 5 starports off like 1 or 2 factories and just doesn't stop making Banshees or battle cruisers or liberators, and he's just always harassing and kind of going straight to the end game army. And it's this really cool style. We saw, of course, as well, Maru over at WCG, massing battle cruiser Liberator in late game Terran vs. Zerg and dismantling Raynor quite one-sidedly. So some interesting kind of let's go light on the Cyclone Hellion straight up into the air units. And in the European scene, I've even seen the kind of shift where instead of the air focus, it's swapping back into the traditional tank-focused mech off just a handful of Cyclones. So you kind of like force the kind of reaction to the battle mech, which is very specific, and then you swap back into the siege tank. So a lot of things that make it awkward for the Zerg player to adapt and defend, and many different options, which always puts the Zerg in a position where they want to scout as much as possible and figure out exactly what flavor their Terran opponent's throwing at them.
Yeah, I really enjoy the matchup in its current state. I know there's something to be said for strength of BCs and the strength of invested Terrans. But overall, it's pretty cool. Terran has a lot of options. Zerg still has a lot as well. So you get to see a cool mix of styles. It's not the same thing every game. You even have those outliers like Supernova that do stuff like Ghost Hellbat timings really early on and stuff. So there's a bit of room for creativity there as well, which I think is really cool. And I'm keen to see how this match pans out, because we've spoken at length about RiSky's macro ability, and we've also mentioned that he has the ability to Nidus you if he's sees an opening. So yeah, I'm curious to see if we'll be getting the long macro games we expect given the map choices and the plays we've got here, or if we may see even one short game here.
Yeah, so far it looks like RiSky wants to play a very just standard macro game, but the SCV and the Reaper tag team have denied this third base for a very long time, and that drone getting antsy. It wants to get that base down, and it looks like it finally is going to be able to, but it has to pay the tax there. A couple of Zerglings. The Queen has to come off creep. Of course, she's not spreading creep right now, and that third base quite delayed. So nice little bit of opening pressure to keep the Zerg player in check, stop them from just exploding into saturating that third mineral line. And behind it, the building that is probably the most standard opening on this map right now, it's Fusion Core. It's going to be either Battle Cruiser or Range Liberator. Both very powerful openings here on this big map.
Yeah, it's the way to go. But RiSky is a guy that is pretty good with his scouting. He tends to make a fairly chunky number of queens regardless, so it won't be too much for him to swing into a couple of spores for Liberators and or BCs to make sure he doesn't take too much damage from that. He should already have a decent enough queen count to start zoning that sort of harassment out as well, and he now drops the Rotor and heads into the lair as his third base gets closer to finishing.
It is indeed going to be Battle Cruiser on the way. Of course, going to be able to dart between different angles of attack very easily with that. 6 Hellions are out on the map, but, has kind of paused the Hellion production for the moment. Of course, you want to start that third command center. If you delay that too long, it does hurt your economic follow-up. And see the walling off there as well. No Viking came out this game, but interestingly, 3 Marines. And that's like a nice little squad. What I like about the Marines is I see that as a Zerg, and I'm worried about a Hellbat timing. I'm worried about, like, why are you building so many Marines off the Hellion opening? Are you going to load those into a medevac and bring those across the map? And of course, they have the power to kind of, deny the information quite quickly. So RiSky, even though he's seen the fusion core and knows about it, may have been a little bit slower on the droning earlier on than he would have been otherwise. And love that little wall off on the natural from RiSky as well, making sure the Hellions can only enter from the third base location.
Yeah, looking good. Love the creep starting to push out here. The Hellions are going to try and find an angle, but it is not to be. The BC is actually going to warp in just on top. And you may want to pull an extra couple of queens to help these friends out. Another one's about to pop out of the hatchery, just finishes up there. This is actually pretty tricky to engage. He tries to get us around on those Hellions, but no luck so far. Here's the extra queens rolling in. More transfusers available, and this will probably cause Seither to move out of this spot. Battlecrew's getting fairly bruised, and that is actually a lot of queen damage right in that spot there. So well deflected so far.
Pretty clean defense from RiSky. He hasn't been able to explode into a fast fourth or anything, but with the Spire already finishing in the near future, Roach Speed on the way as well. Just nice handling by RiSky. So methodical with his scouting and just so pinpoint with all of his defensive adjustments. And the moment he shuts down a pressure, he explodes into drones. Drops the fourth base. He's already going up above 70 workers. Got some upgrades on the way. That Spire's finishing. Now, I'm wondering if it's just Corruptors, like a handful to deal with the battle cruiser, or Muters. It is indeed going to be the Corruptors. So not looking to go for like 10, 12 Muters that can, deal with the BC, but can also counterattack and harass. So just getting up the anti-battle cruiser squad, and he might even go for a huge roach timing. So something you can do is just make a ton of roaches, ravagers, zerglings. As long as you've got enough Corruptors to deal with the battle cruisers, you can try to just swamp the Terran player. Because if you look at Seither's setup, it's mostly just Hellions right now. He's just starting his Cyclones, his mag field, and he's going to be trying to keep the Zerg army away from him and just kind of picking away at it little by little, slowing down the creep. But if you ever surround that army, or if you ever kind of, are able to push him up against a wall, that Terran army crumbles very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. He's trying to press the issue here a little bit with the Cyclones. This adds a bit more beef. Now with the Roaches coming out, he should be able to hold on to that spot. A couple more battle cruisers are starting to creep down the left-hand side of the map. He might swing around into that third base. And RiSky at the same time is going to try his luck over here at Seither's third base. Unfortunately, Hellbats get morphed there between the gases, and he's going to find a different spot. Might be able to get a couple of SCVs here, though.
Oh my.
It's very nicely done.
Yeah, really nice. That's a lot of SCVs, but the Hellion does come back and grab the aggro. RiSky, though, continuing to micro these around. 8 SCVs going down, more Lings causing even more lost mining time, and just creating some chaos on the Terran side of the map, disrupting the economy, forcing the workers to spend their time running around. We see Yamato coming down, Queen and a Spore goes down. And these battle cruisers spotting the Corruptors. They are going to teleport back to their side of the map. But Seither, oh gosh, Seither! Oof.
Wow,
big mistake.
That did so much damage. I thought with the Hellions that he had there, he would actually clean that up before he hit too many workers, but he got a whole mineral line work. That was brilliantly done by RiSky to knock out some of the economy like that, so very well done. And he's actually in a position now where he's making a bunch of banelings on the front lines. He's got Corruptors here to back him up as well. He could actually spit on this command center and try and take it out. Yeah, there we go. And that will pull the Terran over towards this location as well, and RiSky could actually go in towards the third. I think the BCs might just spot that force now, though.
Yeah, they see Ravagers, Banelings, Roaches, so they're going to start to do a bit of a run-by, take down some of those units. 1-1 air weapons are about to actually finish here for the battle cruisers, but Cyclone's going to be reliant for keeping those BCs alive. That's a lot of Hellbats. They can't be clumped up, though. The Banelings, if they find the clumped up Hellbats, they're going to clear them. Good pullbacks on the Hellbats so far. Tank's trying to siege. The tank's
so
dangerously close to the front, though.
Yeah, and he just has enough to push through here. There's Lings in the mineral line once again. All the mech units have gone down, and there is the single G from Seither. RiSky takes a very nice game one just before the 10-minute.
Yeah, that was a powerful play there by RiSky, and textbook scouting shuts down the aggression at every turn and then just kind of gets in control of it and says, you know what? let's cut workers here. About 70 workers make a lot of Roach Ravager Baneling and just a very nicely timed attack. I think he probably had an inkling of what Seither was going to do there. Seither not only invested in battle cruisers, like you go one battle cruiser, it's not that much. Two battle cruisers, still okay. Three battle cruisers and Yamato, that's a huge investment. And he knew that he could just take those out of the equation with the Corruptors. And once you take that complication out of it, it's just about this Terran player who's trying to get double upgrades, trying to build a fourth command center, doesn't really have any tanks up. It's just a bunch of Hellions and Cyclones, and we saw what Roach Ravager Baneling can do against that if you've had a nice opening and got yourself a small economic lead. So I like the way RiSky here, he just seems to kind of control things. I think he's also been studying his opponents because it really just feels like he's almost expecting what's happening. He had queens waiting in the main base against the battle cruiser. If that teleported in on top of his workers, he would have shut those down. And he just kind of handled everything so cleanly and so calmly. And it reinforces this image of RiSky in this matchup, specifically in this region, as being an untouchable Zerg player. In the Terran versus Zerg matchup, I haven't really seen anyone come super close to knocking him out of a series.
Yeah, he's definitely very formidable. He seems to prepare really well. And the thing I love about him is that he doesn't sit back and wait. He sees an opening and he just goes for it. He doesn't mind being the aggressor. And 9 times out of 10, it seems to work for him. He's really good at judging those moments where he can punch in there and get the killing blow on his opponent. And I think the last game was a really good example of that. So yeah, you really have to be on your toes against this guy because he never seems flustered. He's always in control of what's happening. And he's able to turn it back to you on a dime. Like all those lings randomly running into Seither's mineral line. You kind of wouldn't expect that to happen, especially when he had Hellions and Hellbats available at home. Certainly didn't expect it to kill 16 workers. But yeah, RiSky's looking really good, and he's now one match away from getting one of the qualifying spots. Out of this group, I should say. Sorry, I made it sound like he's qualified for WCS already.
Of course, this is the round of 16 group stage. Top 2 players from each group do go through to the top 8 single elimination bracket, and the top 2 players get their seeding and trip covered right through to WCS fall in early September at Montreal. But of course, here we go, guys. Let's see if you can bring it back in the top left-hand side. In the blue, representing Bear Me, it's Seither.
And the purple Zerg in the bottom right, he is RiSky.
Of course, Seither playing for Sif. Sif Gaming there. Bear Me, of course, they're fun kind of meme clan. A bunch of the NA players are all hanging out on and playing together on for quite a while. See a lot of the NA community kind of all practicing together and developing their builds and that sort of thing. RiSky here is going to be going for a 17 hatch. Okay, saw lava sitting there for a second. I was like, wait a second, what's this? The most standard build in the playbook, of course. Nothing crazy going on at all.
Mm-hmm. Nice and standard play, most likely, for both these guys. I mean, I feel like the strength of both these players is just playing standard. So I haven't really been expecting some crazy cheese from either player. And of course, we see, it's been pretty tame, pretty straight up games. But yeah, I mean, after how clean that first win was for RiSky, I'm kind of starting to favor him. I'm like, man, I don't know. Can anyone actually kill him? Because he's just like, how do you throw him for a loop? How do you get ahead? Because he just seems so in control at all times. So interesting to see how this game evolves. There's a little bit more room between your natural and third base, so it's not quite as easy as we saw in the last game where he just walled off that like small ramp to his natural and then just parked the queens at the third, and the Hellions just couldn't really get in there at all.
Yeah, on this map, definitely a little bit more room for movement there. Still not massive though, so the queens can kind of rotate to cover those, hopefully. I do wonder if Seither sticks to the battlecruiser openings, because if there's one thing RiSky seems to have an absolute, stranglehold on, it's these slower timings, these ones that take a little while to eventuate, and this Reaper here just doing a little dance around. And continuing to block that third base, same as last game. Like that streamer placement. Of course, from there you can spread it straight to the low ground and get it straight towards that middle of the map, that high ground middle area where a lot of those fights are going to happen later to protect your fourth base. So that is the main priority for creep spread. It comes most into play when you're defending your fourth base in the mid game.
So they're trying to be as annoying as possible for as long as possible here at the third base, and denying that drone for a little bit longer. But RiSky gets his third base down, continues droning. Speed's just about finishing up too, so that Reaper's probably not too long for this world now. He's trying to get a tumor. He just might get one. And he's got to head out of there though.
Does slow things down just a little bit, and the starport's now back up at home, and once again fusion core goes down. Multiple Marines here ready to try and slap down the Overlord, and this time around RiSky not going to be able to get the confirmation on that fusion core opening.
No, and that's one of the things that's so key to defending this stuff, right, is having that full information. And in this game, RiSky doesn't have an option B, aside from maybe running some Lings up the front and stuff. He doesn't have another Overlord that he can sacrifice in. So he's going to make some assumptions here based off what he does and doesn't see. But, again, he's already got 5 queens with the 6th one on the way. So if he sees the BC pop up, he's not going to be completely unprepared. Obviously, it's just a little nicer if you can have a couple of spores in place to help you out there.
And these queens going to dance around here. Overlord slowly pushing themselves further and further out to keep track of those Hellion rotations. And this is the exact same build order as the previous game's F. So Seither kind of saying, look, you know what? I got surprised by that attack. I think I can defend it. This is my best style. This is a solid style. It just came down to the execution. Our attack just got shut down. It was scouted ahead of time. Let's change it this time. Zergling's going to poke the front. Is just going to kind of see an SCV there, a command center. Definitely looks like the same build, but you can't really confirm things just yet. And there is a Roach Horn. There is 7 queens, and 8th and 9th are on the way. Spore Crawler's going down just now at each base. Wow, really leaving it to the last possible second. RiSky getting so many drones out and prioritizing the queen production, since he knows the spores don't take a long time to build. And immediately drops the spy. This is an exact mirror on both sides. Seither's doing the exact same build, but he's denied scouting. Doesn't matter. RiSky's done the exact same response. He's decided this is how he plays to shut down Seither's opening in this matchup. Once again, the battlecruiser comes in here and quick pullback. Doesn't even lose a single drone. 1 drone there surviving on just 1 hit point. Queen's going to push back the battlecruiser. Those Hellions could try to dive in, but there's a lot of Zerglings there and a lot more drones coming out. RiSky just completely in control of this opening.
Yeah, he's like, what's a BC? He's just not bothered in the slightest. He's got 1,000,001 queens here. He's got a bunch of Lings just in case. I mean, this is kind of over before it began. It may get a little bit trickier once he gets the extra BCs in the mix and the cannon. Then he can sort of pop in and out and blast things to death. And he should get at least some damage. But yeah, so far so good for RiSky. And that Spire once again is finishing now. And he'll have Corruptors available to him to completely shut this down once again.
Yeah, we'll be able to slow the 4th base from getting down. Interesting that RiSky's going for the 4th in the top side, since the battlecruiser is there, rather than the central one. Of course, the central one does have a big cliff in front of it, which the siege tanks and things can get on top of, so understandable. Battlecruiser's going to engage the queens, but taking a lot of hits there. Yamatos will go down. Wants to keep denying the 4th base if he can, but Seither's going to have to back on out of there. Corruptors already are on the way, and Cyclones are out. I like the... Okay, this is the change up. We're finally seeing... I was like, Seither, you're not seriously going to do the same thing. Right? 2 tanks starting a lot earlier, and he's just going to put those kind of in nice positions to reinforce it, where he's standing and where he's holding on. And who knows, he might even go into like a 3rd and a 4th tank very early as well. So I don't think RiSky's going to be able to get him with the same timing attack.
No. And I mean, he hasn't really tried to go for the wing attack yet. He's actually pumping out a few more now. And one thing I do want to credit Seither with is keeping the creep spread under control. RiSky's really only being able to connect his bases plus a little bit. Seither's being very diligent about... Oh my god, he actually kills that. Very nice.
Wow.
Hold that thought.
Nice Ling attack here. Gets a lot of the Hellions surrounded. There's no Baneling Nest this time, but it's just a ton of Zerglings wrapping around through sheer numbers. Remember, you don't have the gas for Blue Flame with this build. It is a little bit harder to actually finish off the Zerglings. Tanks are sieged here. We've got battle cruisers as well. Turrets coming down to try and support this position. Behind us, the Baneling Nest starts. More drones are on the way. The 4th base gases are already getting ready. It's pure attack upgrades for the Zerg, realizing that armor not going to do a lot because, of course, the Cyclone lock-on ability, it's kind of spell damage. It does not get affected by armor. And siege tanks do like 80 damage a shot. So, yeah, 1 armor doesn't do a lot against that.
And another battle cruiser dares drift out onto the map, but it's met almost immediately by these corruptors and has to blink out of there. And, yeah, RiSky looking pretty nice at home. He's halfway through Hive. He's just having a field day here. Everything's going right for him. Macro looking really good. 85 workers. He's basically got everything he could possibly need. And now he's starting to push that creep spread further out on the map now that those Hellions are finally being bullied off that lower left corner.
Scan does see the Hive is on the way. Maybe he doesn't realize, though, that it's actually about to finish. The armory upgrades feel very late for Seither this game. His 1-1 ship upgrades are now on the way, but not particularly fast by any means. So I definitely think this looks like a map where Seither's playing quite turtly for the next few minutes, but more and more Cyclones and Hellions are building. Hellions on the north side looking for the run by, and ooh, they do line up a couple of workers, but Lings are just so good for wrapping around that. Very, very quick melee units. They get on top of it and shut it down. So a solid economy for RiSky, but you know what? The creep's not too far out of the map. Seither's got a very strong economy himself, and he's just looking to keep going to the next stage of the map. Just keep building BCs, more Cyclones and Hellions, and this really feels like Seither's looked at how Maru played recently and said, yeah, that's how I beat Zerg. If I can just keep progressing, use Cyclone Hellion to zone out my opponent, just keep getting to the next stage, that's the sort of TVZ that I want to play.
Yeah, and RiSky once again in a position where he's got a bit of roach bane. I don't think he's going to be able to buzz through like he did in the last game by any means, but he's kind of picking at him. He throws a couple of biles. He moves the corruptors around threateningly and continues to mass up his empire over here. Like, the creeps just exploded, actually. He's heading into a Greater Spire 2+2, about to finish on the missile. On the melee, it's not too far off. These VCs might try their luck down here, but it shouldn't be too long before these corruptors swoop in on that.
Good teleport there, just not giving the 18 Corruptors any opportunity to jump on top of that. 18 Corruptors does chew up a lot of supply, and these Banelings just looking to control that area. They will just cleave through Cyclones or Hellions if they manage to get on top of them at all. And Broodlord's now morphing as well to help keep back these Cyclones. No Infestors out just yet. As I say, that Pathogen Glands does start up, so there will be Infestors on the way as well. Of course, Neural Parasite, very good at dealing with battle cruisers. Fungal also inhibits movement abilities now. One of the more recent changes in StarCraft 2 in the last year or so, things like Blink and Tactical Jump do not function when their unit is under Fungal.
Oh, whatever just went up there got smashed. And the Broodlords are starting their slow push forward. There's really not a lot to deal with this here. I mean, he doesn't have any Hellbats or anything left. It's just Cyclones and tanks and BCs. So he's kind of let these Broodlings reign supreme over at these bases and regroup. Maybe I don't know, like, how do you engage this?
Yeah, I don't know if you
there.
can. I mean, you need Vikings or Thors. You need some sort of long-range anti-air unit, but you're losing orbitals. You lose a command center. There's SCVs starting to go down to the broodlings. Oh, my lord, the tanks decide to say, you know what, we'll help you out. We'll shoot the broodlings that are in melee range, and 15 SCVs fall in a second. Siege tanks, thank you. You're so helpful. We always appreciate your help. Oof.
That's going to burn down. Okay, well, that was a waste of a mule. He just wasn't going to let that go.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, Corruptors being up the top of the map means BCs might be able to come down to the bottom of the map and do some damage, so he's trying to go around this and do some stuff behind. He will get an Infestor, so that's pretty cool. He could potentially get a second one if he spots that other one. He gets a fungal, though, on that one BC, and he will be able to...
Hey, keeps it alive.
Almost target it down.
Nice, does get that one out. The command center, though, keeps getting evacuated. Actually gets a battle cruiser with bile. Oh, those Ravagers are high-fiving each other.
That never happens, man. That's awesome. Oh, God. That's at least 3 Banelings. All right. He kills a few of them and backs out with those SCVs, so...
Uh-oh, Planetary's exposed.
Okay,
no.
so he just banes it. That's fine, I guess.
Oh, Seither's just getting locked in on the base count. I mean, on the plus side for Seither, RiSky's economy is not that high, but RiSky's banking. RiSky's not losing many units, right? I mean, the battle cruisers are like the very slow efficiency, very slow, but you need to be at least vaguely even on bases to the Zerg to keep up and get to that point. There's a Thor around, there's a few BCs, a couple Vikings. I mean, the Corruptors might even be able to go and get that command center before it gets out of there. Yeah, they're going to go for it. I mean, he senses how afraid Seither is right now of these Broodlords. Seither just cannot fight this army right now. He's got 3-3 air units against 0-0 Corruptors, though. So this may turn. I mean, he's building 3 BCs at a time. Seither's army is very scary. A few more BCs, maybe a couple Vikings in here, and that's not enough Corruptors to take him down. It's going to become all about the Infestors to take care of them.
Yeah. I don't know, Seither's just slowly getting choked out here, and RiSky's army is only getting more terrifying. He's going to be able to dump whatever on that. He can neural, he can fungal, he can infest the Terran, and it's all going to be free with the broodlings. Seither, you know, he needs more stuff.
Oh no, he can't afford to lose more command centers. So many have already gone down here. Those infested Terrans are actually gonna maybe take out that command center as well. They do so much anti-air damage. Absolutely insane with those rockets. Another base goes down in the south side at the same time to another wave of Ravager Baneling rolling in there. And yeah, this is it. RiSky just dictating the pace of this game.
Oh, just fungal it, do it. He's marching around in one big clump, and I'm just waiting for the money fungal and then all the infested Terrans and just the A move from the rest of the army. Seither's backing up as much as he can, but he's kind of reached a point where he's got nowhere to go. This base is going to get taken out. And yeah, this is one of the slowest pushes forward I've seen in a while, but it's not looking good for Seither, and he's actually just going to squeeze his way out and try and go around, and this might be his best bet.
Yeah, he's going to try and create a fight in the open. He's going to try and teleport on top here. But look at that. An absolute swarm of infested Terrans going down. There's not enough Hellions to help clear it up. A lot of the infested Terrans fall very quickly. Those 3-3 battle cruisers, they do so much. But when they're this heavily outnumbered, when you're forced to just headbutt into the Zerg army, even if you manage to take out this Zerg army, I don't know if that's going to be enough. The battle cruisers are finally turning this air battle in their favor. Just +1 for the Corruptors, whilst 3-3 for the battle cruisers. The Broodlord's going to try and run to the Spore Crawlers.
Yeah, this is a testament to how tough BCs actually are in large groups. I mean, he had everything he needed there. He's got Spores, Queens, infested Terrans, Corruptors, and there's still this many left over. But unfortunately, the rest of Seither's base is just in tatters. He just remakes a million Corruptors to finish that off. And RiSky looking poised to get out of this group.
Yeah, that's brutal right there. This Roach Ravager cleaned up the last vestiges of the economy there. They're going to keep running on and taking out a tech lab before they go. And Seither, unfortunately, just was unable to keep the fourth base up, the fourth base options in this map. Got himself spread just a little bit too thin. The Broodlord's catching him off guard. You know, it's such a funny thing where you get so focused on all the other unit interactions to get caught out by Broodlords. I mean, you know, sitting here in the observer seat, it seems like such a simple thing to not be prepared for, but it's crazy how once you find an angle with those Broodlords and you force the Terran to be lifting off his command centers and pulling them back and repositioning, everything can fall apart very quickly. And the Terran player is kind of like, cool, okay, we're getting the Thors and Vikings, and then suddenly you Ravager Banelings in the south picking off planetaries, and you're just kind of all over the Terran, and they're not able to keep up with you. Your Corruptors are running in and sniping things, and now we see, of course, the Remax of Infestor Corruptor here. Burrow now on the way. Fungal's going to go down. No retreat for that battlecruiser. Neuroparasite